Hello, folks. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to talk about the NFL and the Super Bowl halftime show. Erica Kirk and a number of other people have come together with the idea of trying to put on a halftime show that will be a little bit more wholesome. It is not a secret that over the last several years, the halftime show at the Super Bowl has been an Illuminati extravaganza. We've talked about the Illuminati and some of the things that they do, including hurting children and so on. But the thing of it is that in my mind, I believe this is the line of demarcation that we have been discussing for quite a long time. The reason is because of the fact that people are going to be putting in their vote when they decide which show they're going to watch during that halftime. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl halftime show and vote for the darkside? Or are you going to go ahead and watch the other halftime show, which is going to be put on by Erica Kirk and some of the other people that are involved in the process and in the funding? Now, they've talked a little bit about what's going to be on this show, and it's going to be a very uplifting show. The other show is going to be famous people doing things that are, I guess, somewhat questionable, really. And they're going to be doing the symbology of the Illuminati during the show, just as they have been doing for several years. This will be your opportunity to decide for yourself whether or not you want to accept what the Illuminati, what the underworld, the dark side is doing, and voting in favor of the people who purposefully harm children. Or maybe you're going to want to vote for the light side. You want to vote for the right side. You want to vote for the people who are against doing all those horrible things to children. We've talked about much of this many times. The NFL is a organization that has very little respect for certain cities, even cities that are a part of the NFL itself. And that's one reason why you don't see certain cities going to the Super Bowl. That's one of the reasons why whenever there is a play calling discrepancy, certain teams in certain cities are always on the bad side of those calls. And it's also one of the reasons why it's okay when New England does something, and it's okay when several of the other cities' players do something. But all of a sudden, if one of the players from one of those teams that are looked down upon by the NFL, if one of their players does it, well, then all of a sudden it's a crime against humanity, and they are going to be punished for it. You'll see 2 or 3 or 4 different things that are being written up about the Sunday night game between Kansas City and Detroit, and how often the referees penalized the Detroit Lions. Now, I have seen that with the Detroit Tigers in their Mariners series. There were a lot of calls that went against Detroit, especially in the balls and strikes. And it ultimately made the difference as to who got walked, who had to pitch a little bit more carefully in order to get the calls that they needed. And ultimately, that meant that there were 2 or 3 hits in the games that actually made a difference in the outcome of the games. And those things happen all the time. I also told you once about the Detroit Pistons in the NBA and how that the team that was led by Chauncey Billups had absolutely no stars on it. The people that were out there that were announcing the show were absolutely livid. They said, how in the world can a team that has no stars on it, like the Detroit team, be allowed to win the championship? The other team has 2 big stars, and they would sell a lot of jerseys if that other team were to win. Well, for the next 4 games, all of the officiating was completely different. And Detroit wound up losing that series. Now, in the early 90s, the Detroit Pistons had stars of their own, and they were allowed to win. But during this series, which I believe was around 2006, 7, 8, long in there, they were not allowed to win because there were no stars, and there would have been a limited number of jerseys that the NBA would have been able to sell. And that's a very sad, sad commentary, because when the sports teams and when the sports organizations are allowing teams to win because of the number of people that they have on their team that are stars, that's kind of sad. Now, the Detroit Lions arguably have some people who would be great stars, people who the world would want to buy jerseys from. But I think that a lot of the problems that Detroit has comes from Goodell. And so it isn't a reach to think, well, the NFL, in its glory of controlling who does what, well, they're possibly just going to be tied in with the Illuminati. And when they start showing halftime shows year after year after year in the Super Bowl, that proves it. Well, that's kind of a sad situation and kind of a bad trend, if you ask me. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers, and I hope you get to watch the alternative halftime show that this other group is going to do. And I hope that you are uplifted by that rather than brought down by the halftime show that the Super Bowl is going to have. I want you to have a good day, and a good day always starts with good prayers. And if those prayers reach the throne of God, well, that's your key. You're going to have a good day. You're bound to have a good day. And so with that said, you have a good day.